This is a short video introducing the online free graphics editor called Photopea and a demonstration of how to remove a background from an image, especially using a green screen technique. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get to the Photopea app online, and if you can either click on a link that's provided to you, or you can see if it's already installed as a Chrome app. It is not for me, so if you don't have it as a Chrome app or a link to click on, the address, you can just type in photopea, like the vegetable, PEA.com. All right, and it takes you right to the photo editing environment. Just as a little bit of orientation, we've got across the top a menu that has lots of different options and tools available to us. We have along the left side all of the tools that we can use to edit our photo or our graphic. And along underneath the menus at the very top, there's another bar that has the options for whatever the active tool is. So right now my active tool is the Move tool, and its options are across that bar. If I change to another tool like the Brush tool, you'll see all these options change to the options for the Brush tool. Over here on the right-hand side, we have some panels that will have information about the graphic we are editing, like the different colors that are present in it and the layers within the graphic. And we'll talk about layers another time, but this is going to be very useful to us for editing some graphics. All right, and of course, this is a free app, and they have some advertising over here. Just ignore that. The first thing we want to do is open up a photo that we're going to remove the background from. There are a couple different ways to open up a photo you already have. One is to just use the tool right here when you start up Photopea, where it says Open from Computer. Another is from the File menu, File Open. Okay, so I'll use the Open from Computer tool, and I want the photo called Mr. B Greenscreen. And it opens up right inside the center of my Photopea window there. And you can see over here on my layers panel, it shows only one layer that it calls the background, and there's a little thumbnail of my photo that's in my graphics editor window. The object of this particular exercise is to remove all of the background here and leave just me, just my shoulders, my jacket and tie and shirt collar, my face and my hair, and remove all of the background. Now I just created a green screen by pinning some green construction paper up on my classroom door and taking a selfie in front of it. So you can also see the door behind the green screen, the little makeshift green screen I created. All right, now we're going to start removing pieces of the background in big pieces, and then we'll get down to the detail work after we've done the removal of the big chunks of photo that we don't want. Okay, so all of this area at the top, before the very top of my head, we don't need any of that. I can just crop it out. So that's the first tool I'm going to use, is the crop tool. The crop tool is this tool. That's sort of a universal symbol for the crop tool across lots of different graphics software. So the way it works is it creates a grid over the top of my image, and I just use these squares on the edges of the grid to move the grid over the part of the image I want to keep. All right, so I can get it. I don't need to get too close, but I don't need any of this part of the photo. I want this part of the photo on the bottom. So I've moved my crop grid over just that part of the photo. Now I'll hit enter, and it just automatically slices off the top of the photo. All right, so I've gotten rid of a lot of it already. All right, now I have big areas on both sides of my head where I can just take out a whole bunch of the background right away. What I want is for everything in these areas to be transparent, to have no color at all, and for my body, my face, and my hair to be left behind, and that's it. So since these are big chunks of the image I can get rid of, I can use what's called the rectangular select. This will make a selection of my graphic in a rectangular shape, and I'll just use that. I don't need to worry about getting very, right up close against the things I want to keep. I'll just make sure I don't remove anything I want to keep, and hit the delete key after I've made my rectangle, and it removes all of that part of the image. When in a graphics editor there's no color on the canvas you're viewing, it uses a checkerboard pattern to let you know that. So that checkerboard isn't really there. It's just a visual reminder to you that there's no graphic in that area of the canvas. Okay? So I'm going to do the same thing over in this part of the image. And again, I don't want to risk removing any part of the image that I want to keep. Okay? I could do some smaller rectangles here. Okay. The area that's all pretty close to the same color green, we're going to be able to get rid of pretty easily using a color selection tool. So we don't need to worry about that too much, but it is nice just to get rid of big chunks that are easy. All right, now we just have detail work to do around my shoulders and my head. And there's a couple different tools we're going to need to do that. Since it's detail work, it's always a good idea to zoom in really closely. And we can zoom in using view and then zoom in. Or if you look at the right side of the menu, it shows you the keyboard shortcuts. So those are good keyboard shortcuts to remember. Control plus and Control minus for zooming in and out. So if I on my keyboard do Control and plus, it'll zoom in, and Control and minus will zoom out. Now just be aware, in some applications, Control and the key that the plus sign is on, which shares a key with equals, works just fine. In other applications, it makes you press the shift, because technically to do a plus sign you have to use the shift key. So sometimes you have to do Control Shift plus and Control minus without the shift key. So before we zoom in and do the detail work, let's just take a look at our overall image here and come up with a strategy. We have these areas of green, and the green is pretty much the same color all around, although if you zoom in close, you can see that some of the pixels are darker than others. Okay, so even over here you've got some darker green pixels like these and some lighter green pixels like these. Okay, and then we've got these areas that are brown where the door was, that we haven't quite gotten rid of all of it yet. We have green and brown in parts of our image that we want to keep, and we want to make sure that we don't remove any green or brown pixels from the areas of the image we want to keep, because if we do, it'll look really strange. It'll have like little shimmery, transparent areas that are like see-through holes in the middle of the photo. We don't want that. So we need to be careful to remove everything on the outside here, but preserve or keep all of those similar colors that are on the inside. All right, so first thing we can do is use what's known as the magic wand tool and select similar colors that are near each other. Now when we get real zoomed in, you can see here the whole image on our thumbnail, but we can't see anything except the very center of the image. we can use this hand tool to slide our view around. It's kind of like using a scroll bar. Don't use the move tool. The move tool will actually move the graphic on the canvas. That's not what we want. We just want to move the image around in our viewer. So we use the hand tool for that. All right, so I could, when I'm zoomed in this tight, I could just use a rectangular selection here to get rid of all this brown in the door. Okay, now if I go that far, I've got some of my jacket right here in the corner that I'm going to select. So let's deselect that so that selection goes away. And let's just do a rectangle there and another rectangle there. Okay, now I'm left with none of that brown, just the green on the green screen. Let's slide over to the other edge of the image. And this is a little bit harder because of the way this shoulder slopes down on my jacket against the brown of the door. So what I can try is using the magic wand tool. The magic wand will select pixels that are close to the same color wherever I click. Okay, so if I clicked right there, it would select the pixel right underneath my mouse pointer and then compare the pixels around it and see which ones are a really similar color, and it would select any that are very close in color. I have some options up here. Feather makes the edges a little bit fuzzy, a little bit blurry, so they're not real sharp looking. I set my feather to 3. Let's see how that works. Sometimes using 0, which would make it real sharp, makes the image look obviously manipulated. Okay, so if you feather it a little bit, it tricks the viewer. It doesn't look so obvious that it's been edited. Right. Anti-alias does something similar to feathering. I found that leaving it on usually works the best. Tolerance is how close a match to the color of the pixel I click on do the other pixels need to be. All right, so 9 is a really small tolerance. That means, well, I'll show you by clicking. See, it only selected, you can see the selection where these dotted lines are. It only selected these, and it left little islands in the middle, and over here there's a big area that didn't get selected at all. So I'm going to deselect that and turn the tolerance up. Let's try around 25. Okay. Contiguous means don't pull pixels out from other parts of the image. Only work within this area that's touching the pixel that I click on. Okay. So that's having contiguous checked is a good way to make sure I don't remove pixels in parts of the image that I want to keep. However, if you we'll see a little bit later when we work on the green, if you do have it checked, there are splotches of color you want to remove that won't come out easily. Okay, so let's do contiguous here because we really do want a pretty contiguous shape there that's almost rectangular but not quite. All right, so I clicked and you see I got a little bit of my jacket. I don't want that. So that probably means that my tolerance is too high. So I'm going to deselect and try a little bit lower tolerance. Let's try 20 instead of 25. Also, selecting a different pixel will help because I'm not sure which pixel I clicked on, but maybe the particular pixel I clicked on was dark or light or too close in color to the jacket. So let's try a kind of medium shade of brown. Hey, look, that's pretty darn good selection right there. And I know it's not perfect. I have little edges here that I'm going to need to touch up, but there's a real easy way to do that I'll show you. All right, so my magic wand selected this nice, good selection of brown from the door, and I'm going to hit the delete key or backspace key to clear it. And I will now deselect. I can see I have this line of brown here, some brown along the edge, and a little bit of that brown left along the edge of my shoulder here on my jacket. Now this and this I can get easily with a rectangular selection. So I'll just take this and get rid of it. I can see there's some brown here along this edge too. Whoops. And just get rid of that. I can get rid of all this with a rectangular selection. All right, and then for the edge of my shoulder here, zoom in real closely. Move my image with the hand tool. Remove that selection. Now I'm going to use the eraser tool to do this detail work. And this is the eraser tool right here. We can use the eraser in either brush or pencil mode. I'm going to use brush. The size of the brush is set to 15, and that circle there that my mouse pointer changed to shows us the size of our eraser we're going to be using. That to me that's a little bit big. I'm going to turn it down. I think 12 would be better. Okay, yeah. So now I'm just going to barely shave, just brush up against the higher portions here to smooth out my shoulder a bit. Okay, there's a little bit left on that edge. I'm going to get that, and then I'm just clicking my mouse button. I'm just going to take a little bit off at a time. Be really gentle with it. Remember, we're zoomed in real close, so when we zoom out, it's not going to be nearly as noticeable. Okay. Okay, let's zoom back out. All right, that's looking good. All I have left is green, maybe a little bit of door right there that I didn't see before. Let's check that out. Oh, look at that, right there, there's some door. And you know what, I can just use my eraser tool to get rid of that. Maybe turn the size back up to 24. And just very carefully, I can even zoom in a little bit closer. There we go. Change back to the eraser. And you know, this detail work can be a little slow and take some patience, but it's not hard. Okay, get rid of that. Now we'll zoom back out, and I think all we have left is the green to worry about. All right, now the green is a little bit challenging because of the green in my tie, and some of the darker bits may match some of the darker parts of the photo, like the shadows in my collar and in my vest, or my jacket, I mean, and in my hair. So I have to be a little bit careful with this. I'm going to start zoomed about, you know, so it's the image is taking up all of my window, but I'm not missing any. I want to be able to see the whole image as I select it first. So I'll change to the magic wand. We'll try tolerance 20 and just see what happens. And I'm going to leave it contiguous to show you the problem with contiguous when we're doing the green screen. Okay, so it selected all the area around the top of my head and then down about to eye level and stopped. If we delete that, it does take away a lot of the green, but you see it left the green in between the curls of my hair, and it didn't get a lot of this. So the stuff that's in between that it didn't take is because I have contiguous checked, and the stuff down here is because the tolerance wasn't set high enough. I do like that it didn't take any of my tie or any other parts of the image except for green screen. So I'm close, but maybe I just need to undo that and deselect it and then adjust these settings a little bit. Let's try doing it without the contiguous check. So it'll take these shades of green that are close from anywhere in the whole image, and let's turn the tolerance up to around 30. Let's bump it up 10. See what happens. Okay, so if I delete that, it's still got a little bit more, but not a whole lot more, right? And it may matter which pixel I'm clicking on exactly. Let's try 35. Ooh, that's pretty good. It got all around my shoulders. I don't see any speckles of selection areas here in my tie or my collar or on my face, or it's all over my hair, but we can only see the effect that's going to have after we clear it, really, because it's such detail. That's really good. I'm happy with that. We do have some fragments left over that we're going to need to remove, but that's no biggie. All right, it's just real fine detail work from here. So I've cleared it. I'm going to deselect, and I'm going to zoom in to these areas where I still have some green and do that detail work. So I can see I have some green here around where I made some rectangular selections. I'm going to change to my eraser tool, and we can make this pretty big because I'm not going to go right up against any edges of the image I want. We'll go 24. Okay, there we go. And okay, we got all that. Scroll our image a bit, go back to our eraser and get these portions. You could also do this with a rectangular selection probably. Okay. Oop, I have a little dot of green right there. Have some up here. We'll get this line. And be really careful as we get closer to the image. All right, now we've really done pretty well. We've just got green in little bits of the hair, and some of that, without a lot of time and effort, we're not going to be able to get rid of. For the purpose of this exercise, we're pretty close. So let's just zoom way in on an area of hair where we see that green. Right over here is a pretty good example where we have green that we don't want, like right in here and right in here. And if we use the magic wand without contiguous, it should get these shades of green from everywhere in the image, all over the hair there. So let's try it. Let's see, we'll zoom out and see what got selected from the rest of the image. Let's just clear it and see what the result looks like. The hair's not too bad, but you see it got some of my collar and into my shirt and tie. That's not good, so we're going to undo that. Okay, and there we go. And let's try selecting again with a little bit smaller tolerance and see if that helps. So it's the same little bit of pixels here. And let's turn the tolerance down to more like 25. Okay. All right. Now, I see squigglies for selections just around the edges of my jacket and my shoulders, around the edges of my hair, but nothing here that I see. Let's clear it and see if any bad speckles show up. No, that's pretty good. All right, so let's clear the selection. I really like that result. That's pretty darn good. So I'm going to save that. Now, if you wanted to spend some more time getting more green, you know, the amount of time you spend compared to the improvement in the picture is going to start going way down. So for just a school project, I think that's really pretty awesome result. So we need to make sure to save this two ways. The first way is so that I can come back and keep editing it if I ever want to. So in the original format that Photopea uses, which is actually the Photoshop format. So I'll do File, Save as PSD. That's Photoshop format. And I'm going to call it Mr. Bennett Green Screen Removed .psd. And I already have that file, but I'm going to replace it with this new version. Okay, and then I want to save it in a format that I can use on the web or in other graphics editors. And I need to make sure that I have the transparency preserved. Now, a JPEG image, if I saved it as a JPEG, it doesn't have transparency, and it will fill that background in with some color like white or black, which is not what I want. I want all of those pixels to be blank or transparent. The PNG format supports that, so I'm going to export this to PNG, and I can use that PNG in another graphics software or even in Photopea to edit it or integrate it into a new graphic later. So there we go. I can just save it with the defaults, 100% quality in PNG format, and hit save. Okay, and it downloaded it to my computer. All right, so that is the end of this video showing the basics of starting with Photopea and how to remove a background that is a green screen from a photo.